to all of you. Today we are assembled here for a lecture by a very well-known Dr. Ambika Kameshwar in the field of fine arts, not only in the field of dance, but also in many fields. This talk is being organized by our research institute under Sundaram Saraswathi Endowment, and this is in memory of one of the great scholars, what we call in modern connotation unsung hero, who hid himself behind many professors whose contribution was not well known to public. Nevertheless, he was an amazing personality, very simple, very humble, very approachable, and very knowledgeable, like an encyclopedia, especially in the field of music and dance. It's remarkable that anybody who went to him got what he or she wanted. And his experience for decades in the New Catalogus Catalogorum work of the University of Madras Sanskrit department helped him to remember so many things pertaining to music, drama, dance, and so on. And he had been associated with Professor Raghavan from his young days. He had his postgraduate degree in Sanskrit in Presidency College, and then PhD under the great Professor Shankaran, and he was employed in the Sanskrit department of Madras University, and he had contributed so much in many fields, and it is really, it was a surprising experience for all of us in our research institute that many queries, whatever query we used to ask him, he used to give wonderful references. Not only that, some articles, not only books, printed, unprinted articles, or some references from anywhere, not only with regard to Sanskrit, but also in Pali and Jain literature also. He was a ready reckoner in many ways, and if there was some manuscript detail, he would go to the New Catalogus Catalogorum and mark the relevant details and give it to the particular scholar. And he used to come to the KSRI daily. Even on the day of his passing away, he came to our research institute, and then as he was going back home, he had a heart attack. And then, the medical, all the medicines or the medical attention was futile. So his association with our research institute was for more than 50 years, and also he was closely associated with Samskrita Ranga from its inception and Samskrita Academy also, and he himself has participated in many Sanskrit dramas, and after he became older, he used to do prompting from behind the screen in an excellent way. And it was a treat to watch Professor Sundaram and Dr. Janaki sitting together and trying to get the materials for the attire of, let us say, Basa's play or Kalidasa's play. They would go to museum or some particular people who had all these dress materials and choose the relevant dresses. They may call it Aharya, whatever it is in Natya Shastra. They were adepts. Dr. Janaki and also Dr. Sundaram, they were adepts. And I have personally witnessed how much of respect he commanded in the Music Academy and other places during the music season in the month of December. And he was such a simple person and unassuming scholar. And when he passed away, we all really felt sad. And even now we feel his absence on many aspects. And in his memory, his wife, Mrs. Saraswathi Sundaram, and his family members, her members and Professor Sundaram's family, they have instituted this endowment. For the past more than 10 years, we have been having some talk. It was our idea to have it in the month of September, that is in the third week of September, he passed away. So sometimes it is not possible for us to hold it on that time, because during September we are busy with many activities, including lectures on many endowment lectures, and especially during pandemic also we could not hold it during the particular time. Therefore, we are organizing that talk under Professor Sundaram's endowment today. And we are very thankful to Dr. Ambika for coming forward to give this talk today and share her vast experience in this field of Natya Shastra. I don't think Dr. Ambika requires any introduction, but still, just a few words about Dr. Ambika. It will be just like a few drops of water in the ocean, because her achievements are so much, and it is not our nature to flatter anybody. Madam, we are indeed very proud of you, because after her post-graduation, she did MPhil and PhD in KSRI. And to add to that, her daughter also did the PhD in KSRI only, which is a rare phenomenon, and we are indeed very proud of both the mother and daughter. And Dr. Ambika Kameshwar, unlike many people who are good theoretically, maybe there are many scholars, so many scholars, they are good in Natya Shastra, Abhinava Bharati, and so many texts on Natya Shastra. But here is a person who is not only an expert in the theoretical aspect of Natya Shastra, but also in the practical aspect of Natya Shastra, not for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but for more than 50 years, she is in this field. And for more than 35 years, she has been a great teacher and a motivator for hundreds and hundreds of youngsters and others. And she has been teaching this art and science of Natya Shastra, many aspects of Natya to many deserving and also ordinary people without expecting any result. That is a great aspect of Dr. Ambika. And one of the notable aspects of her contribution is that while many people may perform on stage or off stage, they may teach and all that, it is only Dr. Ambika who has applied Natya Shastra, who has applied this Shastra. We have applied mathematics, applied science and everything. How Natya can be applied in the daily life, especially for many unfortunate children who are multi-challenged children. We may call them in any way we want, whether it is mentally challenged or physically challenged. I have seen myself hundreds and hundreds of children and youth being very, very patiently taught by Dr. Ambika, and also we are happy to see that her daughter is also on the same line. Dr. Ambika has performed, on stage, not only in Chennai, but many parts of India and many parts of the globe. She has performed so many, thematic presentations, and she is very well known. And she has been also teaching vocal music to children, which I have opportunities to listen to in Raj TV and Jaya TV, if I remember correctly. And I have seen that many weeks children, and it requires a lot of patience to talk to children and teach them, especially some underprivileged children also joining her. And she has also released a lot of albums. So in short, she is a multifaceted personality. This is a favorite word for Dr. Janaki, multifaceted personality. And she fits it in this role very easily, because as a dancer, as a person who applies dance in the daily life, and as a vocalist, as a research scholar, not only she stopped with her PhD, she went on to do her postdoctoral in Natya Shastra under the Government of India Fellowship. And then she's also a guide for PhD scholars in Wales University presently. And she is a founder director of RASA, Ramana Sundritya Alaya. And she has been performing, not merely taking some themes, but even great philosophical ideas on, especially on one of the greatest saints that our country is fortunate to have given birth to, that is the great Bhagavan Ramana. So she and her family are deeply devoted, unlike many people, they are personally deeply devoted to Bhagavan Ramana, and she has dedicated her life for the not only for the propagation, for the application of Natya to all the people, irrespective of color, creed, sex, nationality, religion, and all that. So we are indeed proud, Dr. Ambika Madam, that we are having you today. She has already performed in our institute long back, but it is again our pleasure to invite her to give this talk. And she has chosen a wonderful topic today, which is communication. See, Kalidasa said, Natyam bhinna rucher janasya bahuda pyekam samaradhanam. And in Natya Shastra also we see the Natya gives, it is just like a resort for many people, even for the saints. That's what he says. For yogis also, though I cannot claim myself to be yogi, but I don't know how far it will be applicable to me. But still, I'm telling that the grihasthas and also those who are tired of their daily works, daily chores, and those who are following different professions, even those who are deeply meditating, for all those people, Natya is a medicine. It is an elixir. It refreshes all of them. And indeed, she is going to talk about all these things, different aspects of how the techniques, different techniques of Natya Shastra can be used and in daily life. And we are eagerly awaiting for your presentation, madam. So thank you very much on behalf of the Kupuswami Shastra Research Institute, though you are very much part of it, but now today you are a guest. So we are thankful to you for coming over amidst us to share your thoughts on this important topic. And I welcome all of you who have joined here for today's topic. I think it will be a great tribute to Professor Sundaram. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Ambika.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. First and foremost, heartfelt thanks for inviting me to speak on a subject which is so much a part of my life. In fact, there is only that. Natya is my life, and therefore it is very heartening to talk about it. And like they say, no, ore kallan nariya manga. So first and foremost, I'm talking about Natya, which is very close to my heart. Secondly, I'm talking in the forum, which is my mother's space. It's my alma mater. As KSB sir said, I did my MPhil and PhD at KSRI, and it was not, it is certainly not my own thinking that made me do, or my own desire that made me do the MPhil and PhD there. It was absolutely divine's will and design. And Dr. Janaki, who was my mentor in for and guide for my MPhil, she just made it happen. So how the circumstances came into play is a long story, but KSRI became my home. And so it is that I am speaking at home amongst family members on a topic that is so close to my heart and is my life itself, so much a part of it. That's what I'm doing day in and day out. I'm living that Natya, the tenets of Natya, which I understand and believe in. So it is doubly heartening. And the presence of so many of the near and dear ones as part of the audience is the third manga. And the fourth and very beautiful, very wonderful, very heartening is the fact that it is Sri Sundaram sir's Endowment. And yes, I also know about his great knowledge and his great silence. Vidya dadati virayam. So, but it is not always seen very evidently, and it was evidently seen in him. And so it is many aspects that I am very grateful for this evening. Natya is very clearly a slice of life, that none of what I'm going to speak is my own thought. That I want to put it in front of all of you right in the beginning. There is nothing that I'm going to speak which is what I am projecting. It has all been documented. It has been documented by Bharata in his Natya Shastra way back 2nd century BC to 2nd century AD. It has been put together by divine design, and very clearly in the beginning of how the Natya Shastra was put together, it is Ishvara himself, it is Shiva himself who is the source of this entire Shastra. It is called the Panchama Veda, just as Bharatam is also called the Panchama Veda, for the simple reason that it takes all of us, everyone, every single person coming into the gamut of that Veda to the state of Dharmartha Kama Moksha process and the final goal in a manner in which it is easy for all levels of people to understand. It is not as if it is a work which is restricted to one particular section of people. Maybe it looks like that today, but the tenets, the encyclopedic work, the way it has been documented, and the way it is being applied is something that if we go into, we will still get, as an individual, still get only one small part. It is like measuring an ocean with a small cup, but even that small cup will give us the taste of the whole ocean. And that is the beauty of Natya Shastra. You take one small part, you can go do many layers of research in it, but that one part is also full. That is what is very typically what makes it universal. The fact that every part is the universe, and the universe is there in every part. And much the same way in our human body, every atom is in itself complete and is there in the universe also. Every aspect is complete. So anu, every atom, every part is a complete entity in itself and represents the whole, and the whole is also but its part. So I don't know whether I'm making myself extremely clear about it, but as we go on, probably it will get clarified, and we can also have a question answer session. I was requesting Dr. Kameshwari and Dr. K.S. Balasubramaniam that we could probably have an interactive question answer at the end. But it is, yes, I am not talking out of just some technical knowledge that has been gathered by understanding the text, a few parts of the text, because no one can understand the whole text in such detail, as I said. But it is coming from experience. It is coming from a knowledge that is very much a part of me, that Natya, and there is nothing other than that Natya is something which engulfs the universe in a manner which, whether the universe and its manifestation recognizes it or not, it is there. It is that if a person gets himself into a river, whether he realizes it or not, he gets wet. So Natya engulfs each person's life. There is nothing apart from it. But how do I say this? How do I say this is simply because Not only Shakespeare said all the world's a stage. This has been said in 2nd century BC, 2nd century, between 2nd century BC and AD in Natya Shastra, where he says very clearly, Devanam Asuranam cha Ragyamata Kutumbinam Krita Anukaranam Loke Natyamiti Abhidiyate. Now, every single person, Devanam, Asuranam, Ragyam, Kutumbinam, Krita Anukaranam Loke, Natyamitya Vidiyate. So, he is not mentioning ABCD, not a small child, not an old person, not a woman, not a man. He just says he's a representative of the entire manifest world. Krita Anukaranam Loke, Natyamitya Vidiyate. So, there is a followance of that. There is a continuation of that. There is an understanding of that. There is a reflection of that. There is a progression of that. There is a representation of that. There is a seeable, a tangible representation of that great role play that each one of us have been given in Natya. So he also says, Yo ayam swabhavaha lokasya sukha dukkha samanvitaha kritanukaranam loki. So the thing is that first and foremost, the people. Let's look at the manifest world as people. All people are following Natya. Natya, if you talk about Natya as a representation of what people are doing in the world, then he talks about the people. Next, he talks about the nature. So there is Sukha and Dukkha. Basically, if he's covered in that, the pairs of opposites. Sukha Dukkha Samanvitaha. So the moment you get from singularity to duality, you come into pairs. You come into opposites. You come into Sukha Dukkha. You come into pleasure, pain. You come into different experiences. You come into that. And that is also covered in Natya. So these are the two I feel, are very, very important verses in the Natya Shastra, which talk about Natya being a slice of life. So once we accept that, we are not discussing it. We have to accept it. There are some things that we have to understand from a certain faith. Then only it goes into an inquiry, and then from the inquiry, it becomes an experience. So first is the faith. The faith part, that since the Natya Shastra says that the Natya Shastra engulfs everything, engulfs every manifestation, engulfs duality, engulfs people of different natures, people of different sizes, kinds, everything, whatever it is, whatever roles. It engulfs every role that one of us, each of us have to execute in life. Once we accept that, then we see how does it do that. That is the next stage. That is the inquiry. That is the technique. That is the definition. That is the delineation. That is what makes this concept tangible. So he goes into the next part. If we have to represent, if we say that Natya is a slice of life and everybody is only doing Natya, how is it so? This is the question. So how is it so? Everybody is talking about communication. That's why I said, okay, we will put it like that. When Dr. Balasubramanian asked me, I said, yes, we can put it as communication, because we are doing only that from the morning when we wake up till the night when we lie down again. All we are doing is communication. We are only talking. We are only talking. Talking means not necessarily in the verbal sense. We are only communicating either to oneself, manifest self, because we are in duality, because the moment we get into manifestation, the moment we wake up with an entity. So we are either communicating with our inner thoughts, or we are communicating with the external world represented by others' thoughts, processes, manifest existences. So it is all about only communication. There's nothing else that we are doing from the morning till the night. Then again, we get into the state of Nidra, Samadhi, etc. Nidra, Samadhi, Sthiti. That state is not what we are talking about at all. We are only talking about the waking state. In the waking state, we are only communicating. So then let us go from the point of communicating with oneself, where Natya also gives clarity, but that is a different space altogether. We will stick in this lecture to talk about communication with the other person, with another person who is which the Natya Shastra says is a sahridaya in the acting space. Now, he gives this word sahridaya to the audience, basically the person who is witnessing the communication, witnessing the action. Why does he say sahridaya? He says sahridaya because sahridayatva means at that point when communication is complete, there is no other. There is only the single thought. I say that about everything. I say that about even artists. I say when the artist is communicating something and there is an audience, let us talk in the technical way itself, in the regular Natya stage la yaro aadintirka. There's somebody who's either dancing or doing some drama on stage, and there is a audience which is sitting there. The moment that what this person is trying to say is received by this sahridaya, or at that point of time, there is no two people. There is only the content of what is being communicated, which becomes the pradhanya, which becomes the highest. So there is no dancer, there is no dramatist, there is no actor, there is no audience. There is only the art. There is only the action. There is only the content of what is being communicated, which becomes the essence at that point in time. So if we take that as the regular stage, when there is that communication which is happening at that regular stage, this sahridayatva dissolves the duality and merges the two, the presenter and the listener, or the presenter and the watcher, into one unit to understand and dissolve into the artistic experience. We will come into that little later. Into the artist. So there is a sahridaya. So in every communication, there is a person who is telling or speaking or emoting or trying to tell something in some way. How, brother, we will come to. And there is one person who is receiving. So when when these two become one, the communication becomes perfect. Till there is still a difference in manifestation, there's this difference in understanding, the communication is not 100%. It is not about empathy, it is not about understanding, it is just that there is no other at that point in time. There is just that one experience of the communication that is happening. That is why it becomes the sahridaya. So the sahridayatva is when there are no two, there is only one. So if I have to make every single audience of mine from the morning into a sahridaya in my communication, right through, that is in life, okay. And similarly, when I'm communicating on stage also, whether I'm acting or whether I'm dancing or whether I'm singing or whether I'm speaking about something, then I have to do that perfectly. Only then the essence of the communication will take place. If I do this imperfectly, if I am distracted, or if I do not have the correct way of communication, then there will be a lacuna which needs to get filled. Otherwise, and that's why the communication will not be 100%. That lacuna needs to get filled. So how does one go about perfect communication? How does one go about communication itself? And when Bharata talks about communication, when he talks about taking an idea forward, then automatically he expects it to be perfect. He does not talk about imperfect communication at all. That is why we are saying that there should be no lacuna. There is only the sahridayatva. There is an assumption by the great sage that the communication will be perfect. And if it has to be perfect, it has to be in this manner, he says. These are the tenets, these are the techniques. So how is one to communicate thought? I have a thought, I have to tell it to somebody, naturally, to take the communication forward. So how do I express that thought? If there is no expression, there will be only the thought which is inside, and then therefore it will have to get resolved with the inner audience. But that is not what we are talking about right now. We are talking about one person who is sitting there and listening, or one person who's standing there and hearing, or whatever is basically there to receive what I have to say. So I have a thought, I have an idea. How do I communicate that? Very clear. Every one of us here know that the communication happens. The communication happens only through the beautiful method or beautiful process of abhinaya. अभिपूर्वस्तुनी धातुराभिमुख्यार्थ निर्णये यस्मात् पदार्थान्नयति तस्मात् अभिनयः स्मृतः. So if I have to explain something to anybody, if I have to communicate something to anybody, I have to use abhinaya to communicate. If there is nobody who is not in that gamut. Nobody can communicate without abhinaya. They have to use what are called the Chaturvidha Abhinaya. The Chaturvidha Abhinaya, there are 4 kinds of Abhinaya which Bharata talks about. Any one can be used individually, or it can be used in combination, or it can be used all together, depending on the need and what needs to be communicated and how it needs to be communicated in the best possible manner. For what result I'll come to. So this Chaturvidha Abhinaya, this is the Angika, Vachika, Aharya and Satvika Abhinayas. All of us know it. But what are the specifics of that? Angika is physical gesticulation. That is whatever the body can communicate. If the body can communicate anything, then, and words are not required, well and good. No need to use words. The body is communicating, and it is Angika Abhinaya has Yasmat Padarthan Nayati Tasmat Abhinaya Smritaha has taken place already. Dhaturabhi Mukhyata Nirnaye. The next is Vachika. Vachika is, of course, the verbal communication. That is also there. Very, very important. Nowadays, if there is a telephonic conversation, we don't hear, we don't see the person. We only hear the person. And therefore, Vachika Abhinaya is extremely important for good communication. Aharya, what is your attire? What is your setting? All that contributes to Aharya Abhinaya. And Satvika Abhinaya is the emotive representation of that at that particular moment. So Angika, so physical. So physical gestures, see, if we are able to combine body language and verbal communication, which is what we normally do actually, if a person is face to face, unless you're on the phone, as I said, in which case there is only Vachika which is taking place. The Angika, if it has to be really sharp, fine, then we need to understand what is part of Angika Abhinaya. If we have that knowledge with us, those are the tenets, those are the techniques. If we have that knowledge, we can use our body for optimal communication. So there are 3 kinds. There is that of the Sharira, Shariraja, and there is the Mukhaja, that of the face, and then there is Cheshtakrita, which is of movement. So all these contribute to Angika Abhinaya. Again, there is also a definition where even the Sharira is divided into Angas, Upangas, Pratyangas. So each part can communicate so well. Now, for example, simple. I had a little mosquito bite just now. So I did this. So immediately all of you would have known there's a mosquito. I'm talking about Natya Shastra. But if somebody had been fine-tuned to understand, to watch me completely, they would have realized that there is something over there which could be a distraction. But I have used this example so that it can also substantiate my speaking or whatever I am talking about. So this little anga, this little hand gesture can communicate so much. So the Sharira, the main angas, of course, is Shiro, Hasta, Uraf, Parshva, Kati is the waist, and the Padataha, the feet. So these are the angas. The Upangas are the parts of the face mainly, which are the bhru, the netra, bhru, the nasa, the nose, the adhara, the lips, the kapola, the cheeks, and the chibuka, the chin. So these all contribute. And the pratyangas are the arms, the belly, the shanks, so many. Why I'm telling you this is to say that அந்த நுணுக்கம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவா ரொம்ப அழகா தமிழ்ல அந்த நுணுக்கம் that small change, that small change in the use of any of these can completely change communication. I always say, like, for example, if there is, I have to tell, I'm just taking an example of, let's say, I'm talking to somebody, and from behind that, my daughter Purna comes and stands there, and I have to communicate something to her. I would probably just look at her and then do this, or, that slight nod, that mukhaja abhinaya, that slight nod. No, she knows that she can go ahead with the task, or I'll say this, or very, very mild movement of the face, the eyes, the eyebrows, and that can communicate the whole thing. Go ahead with the task. Now imagine she has to go, or it can say just wait, or it can say don't do it. So many things are just there in that little communication of the face, and therefore one part of the face. So when the whole body works in harmony to communicate something through body language, it is amazing. And it's also nice to know that while the Natya Shastra talks about the typical angas, upangas, and in Cheshta Krita we have the charis, the mandalas, and the gati. And while it defines all this, I find that Natya Shastra very clearly says the very word that he all the time talks about, the Skrita Anukaranam Loke, is that he says that this is what is now in vogue. But you can keep modifying, you can keep moving along with the words requirements. So if there is a change, otherwise there will be no progress. It will stagnate. And Bharata certainly did not want Natya Shastra to stagnate, and he wanted it to govern all time. So where is the question? That is why it has come out as a Veda itself. So there is no question about it. So he says move with the world. So now, for example, even in a representation, even in a very typical what you call stage representation of anything, we have the Natya Dharmi and the Loka Dharmi representations. So in the Natya Dharmi representations, we would positively look at exactly how what the Shastra has defined, how to use the hastas, the pataka, the tripataka, the artha pataka, the kartarivuka. But in Loka Dharmi, these are the asamyuta hastas, single-handed gestures, which are this, which I'm talking about, pataka, tripataka, artha pataka, kartarivuka, mayurakya, ardhachandra, and all those are not typically from the Natya Shastra, but they are there in Abhinaya Darpana. But that is what is being practiced nowadays among the dance learners. I mean, the people, the children who are learning dance and the practitioners of dance are following that more than the Natya Shastra. It's not much different, but this is more in vogue. So the gestures. So these are all contributors to the communication. And then we have, as I said, so all these angas and these upangas and these the pratyangas, along with the charis, the mandalas, and the gatis, make a very, very clean inroad into body language communication. And as I said, see, when the progression is there, he says, Anukarana, keep going, Lokadharmi, Natidharmi, we will stick to all these typical hastas, typical movements of the eyebrows, typical movements of the hands, the body, and all that. But in Lokadharmi, we will adapt. We will go with what can be easily understood by today's audience, and we might not have, we may deviate slightly from the typical hastas and use something which is more easily understood for the sake of the sahridayatva, for creating the sahridayatva. And overall, even more than that, creating the sahridayatva happens only because the Natya Shastra also, before I go into the other aspects, I have to say this, that The whole purpose of Natya is to create rasa and for the essence of the communication, for us to lose ourselves in the essence of the communication, and then the Sahridayatva happens. Is he clearly says nahi rasadate kaschidartha pravartate. That is the Rasa Sutra. There's nothing, there is no communication, there's no use, there is no meaning in Natya except for that dissolution of the individual artist and the audience into the Rasa Anubhava at that point in time. So the body language changes according to the Natidharmi and the Lokadharmi aspects if required. Otherwise, see, it is each person's fine tuning to the artist in them to enhance their communication on a day-to-day basis, in a minute-to-minute basis, hour to hour, day-to-day, hour to hour, minute-to-minute basis, for their own best results. So this is what I'm trying to say through my sharing today. So that is Nahi Rasadate Kachidatta Pravartate. And so we have the Angika Abhinaya. And then, of course, we have the rasas themselves have been broadly classified into the Ashtarasas in the Natya Shastra, and the ninth rasa of Shanta rasa was added on later on. But Adi Shankara, in his very beautiful verse from Saundarya Lahari, he talks about Ambal, going through the Ashtarasas. So actually, that's a very beautiful verse. Probably, if there is time in the end, I can probably do a bit of an abhinaya for it. Otherwise, it really doesn't matter. But he talks about the Ashtarasas, the being generated in Ambal's face. And so what I'm trying to say is that every moment there is a rasa that we are dissolving into, all of us, in each communication. So going on to the Vachika, even that is highly important. So if your body language is perfect also, if your Vachika is not, then you're in trouble in communication. So as far as Vachika goes, in fact, I always say, that when a husband and wife are communicating, and the wife is not really is trying to tell something, I always tell this because I am a wife, and my husband, of course, Kameshwar, is also there in today's meeting. But otherwise, I'm sure the husbands also have the same problem with their wives, or any ex can have with any wife, is because their words may be perfect, but if the tonal quality is not correct, they say, no, you said it, but then your tone was not right. You didn't say it in that tone. Did you say it in that tone? No, I never said it. No, I only said okay. No, you didn't say okay like that. You said okay in a very just because you want me, for your sake, I'll do it kind of okay. Not okay like you want to do it and you want to do it for me. Simple okay can get into so much trouble. Okay. So they'll say, okay, what was on your mind? They'll say, I said, okay, no. You were not paying, there was something else on your mind. You didn't say okay with full heart. How do they know that? Because the Vachika Abhinaya communicates that. The Vachika Abhinaya and the rasa at that moment of the Vachika Abhinaya and the Sahridayatva communicates that the mind was on something else, but the okay came in the mouth, but the okay was not there in the heart. And therefore, there was a lacuna, and therefore the Sahridayatva indicated that, and the Rasanubhava was not felt of the okay that was expected of the listener. I mean, by the listener of the person who was saying the okay. So when just that little okay is there, and therefore there are, of course, in Vachika Abhinaya also, there is a very clear, there are many definitions of, there are the swaras, there are the sthanas, there are the varnas, there is the kaku, and there are the alankaras. The swaras, it's so beautiful because even in performance, the sapta swaras also, how do they get used? In fact, it sometimes, one of my discussions which I was having with Dr. Balasubramaniam, we were discussing how do you communicate silence through music. Now, I was discussing with him. In fact, he said it's so difficult because I mean I was telling him that it's so difficult, especially when we, as he was saying, that we do performances, we do dance dramas, and we do dramatic representations on spiritual themes. So if you have to communicate silence, how do you communicate silence? Through music. Other than keeping silent, you can't really communicate it. And supposing it is an audio production, supposing it is, there is no video in that, and you're doing a dramatic production, and you have to represent the entry of a great sage like Bhagavan Ramana or Paramacharya or something like that. Immediately you should feel that the presence is the manifest presence of silence actually. How do you do that? If Dakshinamurti himself, you may be representing on stage. How do you represent that? So I normally use just the tambura shruti for representing that silence, because that is the adhara, that the adhara shadja, and it governs the entire universe. So I normally use that. But in saptaswaras, how do you use the swaras to get the best of communication, especially in dance representation. We have vachika binaya not being done by the artist, but by the song, the accompanying musician is who is really going to contribute to the vachika. So in fact, there is this song with the Bho Shambho. How do you where, at what point in time? So in my choreography, I'm just sharing my own choreography. It is my interpretation of that. Everybody will have different interpretations, and my interpretation of that was like, let's say that there is a meditation and you're doing Ho Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho. At that time, I in my choreography, the dancer will be just sitting in meditation. Bho Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho. So there is a rising. There is a rising of that emotion. That silence rises slowly into a movement. The stillness becomes the silence, becomes the sound, and the stillness becomes the movement slowly. Oh Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho. By the time slowly the eyes open. Oh Shambho Shiva Shambho. That's when the dancer moves forward and looks and sees Shiva standing in front of their eyes, and because that climax. So there is this the sthanas, the uras, the urak kanta shira of Natya Shastra comes into play. So this all happens in performance. In the same way, what happens is basically what Natya Shastra says is that when the shira has to be used as the thana, when you're calling somebody very far away, and the kantha when he's fairly nearby, and the uras when they are nearby. All these are typical tenets. But how do you apply it? That this is how you take it forward. You get into the climax, you get into the mood, and then you use the sthanas in that particular manner, and allow that rasa to burst forth. So that is vachika. And then of course aharya. Now KSB sir in the beginning was talking about the search for the right costumes, and that is something which is so. And as he was saying, I do programs with 200 special children, and searching for costumes for all of them, ideal costumes. And I do what they call historicals. Most of the time it will be some old story, some Manikavachaka, some Appar, some maybe some old kings of Ramayanam, Mahabharatam, stories from there. So we have to, and maybe Kalidasa, maybe Tulsidas. So all the time we have to keep searching for costumes. That said, okay, how much the aharya can communicate is tremendous. I was talking about Gati. In Gati also, in Angika, where we talk about the Cheshtakrita and come from Chari Mandala Gati, the Gati itself, like when a person enters, I had the opportunity to do study the 13th chapter of the Natya Shastra, which is the Gati Prachara, for my MPhil under Dr. Janaki. So what we did was basically what she told me to do was to reclassify the slokas into sections. So into divided into Gati on entry, Gati according to locale, Gati according to sentiment, and Gati according to character. So when a person enters, when the communication, we're talking about communication. The moment a person enters, where he is, what is his emotional state? Okay, he's entering, so the entry part is done. Where he is the locale. What is his emotion at that point in time? What is his state of mind at that point of time? And who is he? Is he a king? Is he a director of an organization? Is he a worker somewhere else? Is he a person who is an artist? Is he a person who is a scholar? Is he a person who is studying? Is he a student? Is he a teacher? Everything is seen. Is he a confident man? Is he a diffident man? Whoever he is, just that entry should represent that. And the way he moves, the gati. And similarly, it is about the attire. The very entry of a person in a particular attire completely communicates who he is, what he is doing, where he is. And so the communication becomes so complete by just seeing him. And him or her, of course. And like immediately I know, because it is not only about the stage. It is the moment any child will know. The moment we hold our handbag, my grandson will come and tell me, "Amma, veliliya poro." It's like that, you know that you hold your hand. Where are you going? He'll ask. So the handbag, the accessory, there, of course, in Natya Shastra, there is the clear definition of Pusta, Alankara, Angarachana, and Sajjiva in Aharya Abhinaya. Pusta is, of course, properties. Yeah, correct. And Alankara is decorations, is the set. It is how I set the place. And then it is Angarachana, which is the makeup. And it is Sajjiva. Sajjiva now is not used much because they needed to bring sometimes live creatures on stage. That was actually, there was a drama on Bhagavan Ramana, which was done by Bombay Chanakya sometime a couple of years ago. And for cow Lakshmi, he actually brought a cow on stage. It was difficult on some platforms, but he actually did that because he felt that is only going to create the rasa which he wanted. As the director, he wanted to create on stage at that point in time. So Sajjiva is normally not so much in vogue nowadays, but he did it. So that's a possibility too. But definitely the properties, the decorations, the sets that are required, the properties, and the makeup at that point in time, the costumes, basically what you're wearing. So it's not about the handbag alone. It's about like the moment you get dressed in a pattu sari, everybody will know that you're going for a function, you're going for a wedding or whatever it is. And if you're in normal clothes, then you know that, a simple casual salwar kameez, you know that you're going about your daily routine. So it is so much of communication is happening. We don't pay much attention to it. Adhikaha I'm saying. We don't pay much attention to it, but it is there. It is there in our day-to-day existence. It is there all the time. And then we come to the fourth very important aspect of Abhinaya, which is also part and parcel of the communication, and that is of Satvika Abhinaya. Satvika Abhinaya is basically emotive representation. What is your emotion at that point of time? How are you communicating your emotion at that point in time? And of course, there is the Stamba, the Sweda, the Romancha, the Ashru, and all the typical points which the Shastra itself has said. But there is more to it than that. If he said it's this much, he's only giving us an idea, and he's saying, remember that the world has a larger spectrum, and so go with that. So right at the beginning, I have said, remember, Devanam Asuranam cha, he's telling us, Devanam Asuranam cha Ragyamata Kutumbinam, Kritanukaranam Loke Natyam Vidiyate. So I've already told you that whatever they need, they have to do, they do in a manner in life, that you bring it as a slice of life on stage. And we can also do the reverse process. We understand the stage, so we live life better. So it works both ways. So and then see, I always say that Satvika Vinaya is very important, because let us say there is a person who is going to an interview, and he's got perfect, he's prepared very well, and he's got perfect Angika body language is perfect, he's practiced very well for how to answer questions, his Vachika is very good, his Aharya, he is dressed ideally for that occasion. And Satvika also, his emotions are under control, he knows how to communicate his emotions at that point of time, not letting go to say that he's too eager to get the job, and yet he's not to say that he's very qualified for it, to communicate well that he's qualified for it. At that point in time, let us say he's just going in for the interview, but his father calls and he says, Amma is not very well, I'm taking her to the hospital, but don't worry, you finish your interview and come. This is all he is telling. But how much of this individual young man's mind will be on the interview? There will be a drop in that communication, because his mind will not be completely attentive to the task at hand. His mind becomes slightly disturbed. So the greatest requirement of good communication, and if is to surrender to the role of that moment, not remember a second before, not worry about a second after, and be completely in the now for good communication and good experience of Rasanubhava, which is the expectation of Natya, not only on stage with the Sahridaya sitting in the audience, but on a day-to-day basis, day in and day out, with the Sahridayas that we have in our lives. I think I've sort of covered whatever I wanted to share with all of you, and we are at 7:10. So if there is time for question and answer, well and good. And this is not something which I can really put into 45 minutes. There's so much of love and joy I get about speaking about all this. But I leave the floor to Dr. Balasubramaniam and Dr. Kameshwari and whoever else, the host Lavanya, I think, to decide as to how to take this forward. And thank you so much for this opportunity, for allowing this sharing. And it's been great for me. Thank you again.
Very well done. Fantastic work. And I am expecting somebody to ask some question. Is there any question?
Most welcome.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, do. The villain of the episode.
No, I'm not villain.
No. If he is not asking a question, I will feel disappointed. After the end of this show, this sharing, I'm going to tell what he did to me on my Viva day.
The thing is, we are trying to get more information or some clarification, and from the person who is an expert in this field. Now, there are, say, 3 or 4 questions. One by one, I will ask.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I hope I'll be able to answer to your satisfaction.
No, you will answer, no doubt about it. But maybe some observations also. You talked about Natya Shastra, even some portion is like a cup of water. It applies to any field for that matter. Whether you have Yoga Sutras or Brahma Sutra or whatever it is, in any field. Yes. Because the water in the cup, or pana sotuku, or so padam, like that we say, no. So it need not be only for Natya Shastra, it holds good for in all the field.
Of course, one thing. Of course.
But sometimes it is also deceptive, what we call in logic, hasty generalization. You can't measure the mood of the people or the behavior of a person, of all the people, by looking at one person. That is also not possible. It is not universally applied in a practical life. But now, you say the mind should be applied, okay. What Natya Shastra says is, unless I have this Thayi Bhava, you see, I should have this Thayi Bhava to appreciate what you are delineating in the stage, okay. If I am a dullard, or if I am not at all interested, if I am having indifference, okay, there are so many moods, then what happens to your universalization, Sadharanikarana?
No. That is not how it works in communication. If we are only talking about in all this, I was only talking about ideal communication. I am not saying that all the time there is ideal communication between people. We are trying to strive towards ideal communication. If we are trying to strive towards that, we have to understand the sahridayatva, the space. Like I work with special children, the space from which they come. We must understand that and modify our technique. If we want to get ideal communication, if we want to get ideal results, we have to understand that level and this level have to become one. And there is a possibility, there are tenets for that, and there is a possibility of modification. So we have to apply our mind. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work one needs to do to get that fine tuning. But it is the ideal situation. We should try and get it. It is not always possible. இல்லைனாக்கா எல்லாருமே அப்படியே euphorial point jolly.
So Natya Shastra also has to be taken with a pinch of salt.
Natya Shastra need not be taken with a pinch of salt.
She said there is a condition assumed by Bharata
Yeah.
that you and the audience are one.
I did mention it.
That's only ideal, utopian.
No, that is a class attached to it. Not it is. I don't think it is universal. Because when you say, for example, you can communicate through Angika, okay, through the eyes, or through your expressions, or through your hand or whatever it is. Again, it requires the person who is before us or the person who is seeing or sitting or something like that, unless he is able to get it. You see, the same thing applies in Vachika also, because we read in our Nyaya Shastra or Mimamsa Shastra, any Shastra for that matter. See, the context is also more important. Maybe the word is the same. The common example that they give is Dwaram, means door. So while I am eating, if I say door means close the door because I don't want something else to come. On some other occasion, if I say door means open the door, somebody is waiting outside.
Correct.
So it depends on the context. It is not merely the word which matters. It is not merely the Vachika. It is not merely the person who is opposite to us. It also means the context. That is also very important.
Yes,
that is true. In both the contexts, your tonal variation will give the effect.
Yes,
what should be done. That is what she is talking about.
I am saying that is the only thing. அதே வார்த்தை, for example, ஒரு அடி அப்படிங்கிற வார்த்தை தமிழ்ல அடி அடி அடியே அடி adi is also to the friend or to the thing. Adi is underneath. Adi is adi. So how do you use this? Only in context we have to understand it. The similar way, the way in which it is spoken, it has. If you are saying this, see that oh itself, that means is that so? See, the whole tonal quality changes.
I understand.
That is how we have to use income. That is the ideal way.
No. My question is, Dr. Ambika, the thing is, நம்ம சொல்றது common example, I used to say, நான் உடம்பு எப்படி இருக்கு அதே எப்படி வேணா கேட்கலாம். See, வீட்டுல சொல்லிட்டு வந்துட்டியா, supposing I say, have you told your parents or something like that you are going out, அதே பஸ் ஓட்டுறவங்க கேட்டா வேற மாதிரி. I am not meaning the tonal expression here. What I say is the same tone. Even if we utter the word in the same tone, the context plays an important role.
Yes, undoubtedly, and we will see that also even in actual dramas also. We will see that the same sloka sometimes is repeated in a different context, and it will have a completely different communication.
Correct.
That is there even in our own dramas, in traditional dramas itself. And the same thing, even in cinemas, we'll have one lady would have sung that song. Same thing will come in a sogam voice, in my male voice later.
Exactly.
You are right.
Yes.
So now, regarding Aharya also, you are talking only some examples where you say you are wearing some dress when you are going out or something like that. From the dress itself or the attire itself, you can make or judge a person or judge the moment.
Not completely. Like it adds to the communication. It is also part of communication.
But most of the time it is misleading, like many Anandas now, many Swamijis now wearing the sannyasi dress, and you mean to say that these people are communicating divine love or divinity or something like that.
No,
Whereas there are people, yeah.
we have to see the other layers, the Angika and the Vachika also along with that. In combination, see the
No,
communication.
people may talk. You see, for example, even in
But
Upanishad,
definitely,
we read,
what are they trying to communicate by their attire is அவ துறவிங்கிறது உலகத்துக்கு காமிக்கிறதுக்காக அவ போட்டுக்கிறா தனக்குங்கிறது வந்து that is the next level of communication. But the moment there is that saffron attire, as you say, you know that he is a turavi or whatever it is. So that amount of communication has taken place. Then the layers we can talk about with all the other methods.
because Arthashastra, our Chanakya, Kautilya says, one of the ways to misguide people or the spice,
That is
just
also
like the
purposely
Sanyasi.
used for communication only, no, sir. That is also purposely
No,
used
it
to
deceives. That's what I'm
create a
saying.
different communication.
Because the attire may deceive. Just
Yes,
like the words may deceive,
but
attire may also deceive.
of course, it may deceive, but that the purpose of the actor to wear a different attire is to deceive.
And
Then that
also-
is what the purpose is. That is what is being achieved.
And also there are hundreds of people or thousands of people who may not have different attires, especially in our country,
Yes,
and
yes.
they may go with the same dress even to,
Of course, but then
or-
see, why do they say? For example, I'll give you a small example of today's world. When everybody wears that white shirt with that jungle green pant, you know that they are in Vidya Mandir. That's all. அந்த அளவுக்காவது communication இருக்கு.
uniform.
அதான் uniform, same, all of them are there, but you know that they belong to that particular school. So அந்த அளவுக்கு communication, they don't they already in that attire. So the moment you see them, you say, oh, you are Vidya Mandir. Especially in places where so many school children go, the moment you see, they'll segregate them. No, oh, Vidya Mandir group anga irukku. And the PSC in the secondary school. So it eases communication. That's all.
Stop video solite.
Anyway, I think
But
it is not
yes.
universal. Anyway, I will pass on to Dr. Kameshwari or somebody else who would like to.
Lot of questions have come.
course.
But it was a lot of joy chatting.
Yeah, he has almost asked you all the questions from all perspective, for all the Abhinayas. He has asked you one question. Okay,
One question for
Vachika,
each.
Ambika, everything except Satvika. He has asked you all the questions. That's very nice.
I feel it is one-way communication, not two-way communication. The other, unless the other person is 100% involved, there is no communication.
இல்லைன்னா சகதேத்வாவே கிடையாதே சார்.
Correct.
Hmm.
So the word is
Sahadayatva comes
அப்பதான் கம்யூனிகேஷனே இருக்கும். இல்லைனாக்கா ஒன் வே தான்.
Communication is only for Sahadaya.
அப்படித்தானே சொல்றாரு அவர். நாட்டில் சகதயம் தானே சொல்றாரு. அது சகதயத்துவ இல்லைன்னாக்கா ஒண்ணுமே கம்யூனிகேஷன் இருக்காது. அறக்குறையா இருக்கும்.
Sahadayatva, he or she, just a minute. Sahadayatva, he or she is not using it in the technical term as a connoisseur of the arts.
Understand.
He is meaning
Yes,
it
yes.
as somebody who understands you. That's all. General communication, you understand it. In that context, it is perfectly fitting. So I'll go with Dr. Ambika to say that what she has said so far, taking the theoretical, technical points to the Lokadharmi is definitely perfectly fitting. One is the ideal one, that is the Natya Dharmi. This is Lokadharmi. And Lokanukritihi Natyam Bhartar solradnala, we have to accept that. There is no complications in that. Though the questions raised by Professor KSB are really valid points, still the answer is that you are applying it to local. So when you are applying it to the common people and common activities and other things, technicality comes down to a particular level and then be on par with the local, no other go. And if it is going to be a theoretical presentation, the local level should have to go up to the Natya Dharmi, understand it. There again, then only the Sahadayatva will come. So that is the special aspect of this. And that was well brought out by Ambika. More than that, her involvement was very well, I think, Balu also will appreciate that,
course.
because he had told, even in the beginning, he said you are very expressive in your thoughts. So the way of presentation was very fine, very well done. And you brought all the points, the technicalities as well as the common things, and put them together. It was done very nicely. I do think everybody who had participated today would have enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. You were able to really put it forth what you had wanted. So it was very nice of you to have joined us and
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
But it shows your lecture showed your expertise and your involvement. We are really happy that we got you today, and we are proud as a student of our institution.
Yes,
We were
yes,
able to do
absolutely,
that.
always.
Something very nice for us. Thank you very much for that. And I should thank the endowment makers of
Yes.
Professor Sundaram Saraswathi endowment makers. We always remember Professor Sundaram, whatever the subject may be, whichever topic we may be working on. He was a person par excellence, and a very, 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 what will I say, unassuming personality. And we always will remember him. We miss him a lot every time when we take something really special. And today he would have enjoyed it very much, and he would answer, not directly, of course. Tomorrow he'll come to the institute and then he will have a talk with us. We would gain actually from his explanations. He'll say, KSB, நீங்க அப்படி நினைச்சுக்க கூடாது, right, Balu? That same tone he will take. We miss him. We miss him really. Today is an opportunity for us to remember him and talk about him. Good. I hope Mrs. Sundaram will listen to it later, of course, not directly. After the YouTube releases there, she will listen to it and then she'll come back to us. And I wish you all a good night, and we will retire for the day. We'll meet you again, Ambika.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes. Okay.
Sure,
We'll meet again. See you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Lavanya,
Thank you.
you can close, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.